All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another week of Half Circle Back. It's episode 8. We are back in the saddle after a brief hiatus. I'm here with my co-host 4H Tim. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How you been?
Surviving, man. That's about all I can say. I was sick for like the past week, so kind of finally recovering from that and getting back into the swing of things. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, shit. I've been at home. I can't work. So, yeah, I've just been
back in good old, not Alabama. I forget you're in Georgia. I was about to say Alabama, but
yeah. I mean, actually, I'm actually in Alabama, but
technically, but I mean, we don't claim you anymore, so it's all good.
But I'm gonna remember this. This is definitely in audio form, and we actually, and our guest is also here. So even if you try to like slide your way out of that, I'm like, hey, yo, Dap. You remember that time when Greg was like, Tim is in Alabama no more? He's gonna be like, yeah, and I'm like, gotcha ass.
Nah, I mean, Tim, were you ever part of Alabama? I mean, part of Georgia?
yeah, at one point,
At one point. For how long though?
Like, man, it was for a long time. Actually,
I feel like I'm more Georgia than you, but maybe not.
Maybe because Georgia. You know what? I'm not gonna get into it.
I'm definitely about to say reckless shit.
But yeah. So I've been affected by the COVID-19 crisis. So unfortunately, I can't work right now. So I've just been chilling for the past couple of days. I'm about to start hitting up some of these backlog of things I gotta do, games I want to play.
It's the best time to do it right now.
Yeah, man. So thinking about starting Ori and the Blind Forest tomorrow. Then after that, starting Will o' the Wisps. So
you got it all planned out, man.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna eventually start playing Final Fantasy 15 at some point. Maybe.
Unfortunately, I'm still working, so it's kind of the nature of that.
I'll take your spot, man. You know what I'm saying? I'll take your.
I don't know if you want that.
Look, man. After what I just went through in Texas, I'll do anything. So.
Wow.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we went ahead and again, it's still kind of slow because of the tournament season. So we ended up bringing on another guest. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to you, Darius, to go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself.
All right, what's going on, guys? I'm Darius. I'm from Georgia. Most of you all know me as Dapvip. Pretty much known as the Marvel vs. Capcom player here in Atlanta. That's pretty much the first game that got me into the FGC community. I know a lot of you guys seen several of my videos, the tournament matches. My team is Dante X23 Iron Man.
I see you just
the best Iron Man in the business.
I see you just stroking yourself here.
I mean, I just letting people know what the deal is. Like, I just want to make sure people understand who I am. They say, "Oh, you guys want me on your show?" They got to say, "Oh, wow, this is actually a pretty good guest to have on the show." So,
I mean, we're not on the show because of your Iron Man play.
Hey, look, I just want to.
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's part of it.
You're not here. You're not here. You're here because you're a TO now. So
yeah, I guess you could call me a TO now. I'm semi-retired.
That's what they all say, right? You never truly retire from FGC.
I know. I've retired. I tried to retire countless times, but the passion for the game and the community just keeps me coming back. So I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know with the virus and everything like that, it's affecting everyone in the communities, but we still find a way to move on. I know.
Right.
But yeah, like, what was it? The game that got me even started with the community was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Man.
Now
Yeah.
I do have a question. So was that the first? So I guess when you did get into the Georgia FTC, was that the first game that got you in, or were you playing anything else before that?
So the funny thing about it is that I've been playing fighting games since I even knew how to play video games, probably when I was like 4 years old. But I played it casually. Like even when I was growing up, I would play in the arcades, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just pressing buttons and stuff was just happening on the screen. And that was wowed me and everything like that. Now my first introduction into the actual FGC community, I think was when I got into my first year of college in 2009. When I went to Georgia State, I was hearing a couple of my friends play Smash Bros. It's hilarious.
Smash.
It was funny because I didn't know the guys at the time. I just heard Smash Bros. Brawl here in the background in the dormitory. I went to go check it out, and I was like, "Man, y'all playing Smash?" I bet I can beat y'all easily, no problem. And then before I know it,
starts.
Yeah, before I know it,
and then you got rolled up.
Yeah, I got destroyed. I was like, I didn't know what I got myself into. But those guys have been close friends of mine since then for almost 10 years. And it was funny enough, like they saw me play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 one day. And they played me in that, and they couldn't run up on me in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. My team was Strider, Iron Man, the Cable, some Spider-Man, like just random select team of favorite characters.
That sounds like my Marvel 2 team. It was probably equally bad. It was like Guile, Ken, and I forgot who else my third was, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah, indeed. So I met them as soon as Marvel 3 was about to release, and they showed me SRK Shoryuken. I never even seen SRK or even know the website, and I checked it for the first time, and introduced me to Gutex, Mike Ross, Excellent Adventures, all that stuff, the forums. Went to the Atlanta forum, and it was crazy nonsense back in the day. Iceman, I'm pretty sure you guys know who Iceman is. Just running the chat and being the mod for it, just causing mayhem. And
back in the SRK days, I never even went to the Georgia thread. I think actually I went in there one time. I mostly was. I mean, it took me a long time to even find out that Bama had one, but I ended up stumbling on that, and then I would kind of look into some of the other regional forums, but I think I went to the Georgia one time just to find out about ATL Revival.
Oh man, it was a sight to behold, bro. Even Marcus,
I can imagine.
Potato Salad, he was in part of the thread as well, so I'm kind of pretty surprised that you haven't heard about it, because that's how I met Marcus, and I went to a play-in trade tournament for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And that was my very first tournament. And I ended up winning the tournament, surprisingly. It's crazy, right? It's like you never hear that story of, oh, it's your first tournament. Oh man, just take it easy. Don't get too upset if you go 0-2 or something like that. I mean, I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Vanilla, I think religiously. Like I was addicted to that game, and my roommate, he was like on it as well. And so we basically just kept challenging each other to find like techniques, combos on SRK, just train and practice. And then I was like, all right, let's go out to this tournament real quick. And at the time, my roommate was better than me, but he played on a stick.
Oh, you were a pad player.
Yeah, and I was a pad and stick player. I could play on either or. And
okay.
And the play and trade tournament said that you can only play on pad. So my roommate did not come with me. And I felt like he would have won if he had came with me.
Out of curiosity, who was the roommate?
Sam Carlson, his white chocolate.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Tim knows him, I guess.
Yeah, I remember Sam. Sam was really cool. You know what's funny? You talk about vanilla, and like I remember hating vanilla so much, like after like maybe a month, because I remember when vanilla first was coming out, and like I remember Walmart getting like you could play it early, and I remember spending like 2 days into a Walmart laying on the floor, like me and my boys.
Hey man,
and like we're literally grind. Yeah, like if you know Mayho, right? Yeah, like you guys Mayho. Yeah. Like we drove down to my hometown in Hinesville, Georgia, because we were both going to Statesboro, Georgia Southern, and we literally went down there to like the Hinesville Walmart, and we were just laying there playing Marvel 3.
Oh my god!
We're all there. We brought a wireless pad so we can sync it up to like the Xbox and the kiosk.
Y'all would just be playing it on the floor while people just shoppers just walking past y'all. Y'all just on the floor just chilling. Oh my god!
And it was during that time, right? Because because that's when like Walmart and Kmart would be breaking like street dates of games. And so we definitely got it early. Like,
wow, that's crazy. Y'all are tripping, man. Because like we never got a chance to get the games early here in Georgia. We didn't know anybody who worked at GameStops at the time or anything like that. We just had to wait. We went to that fight club that Shin Blanca had hosted.
Yeah, I remember that.
I went to that as well.
And that was the first time, like, kind of taste that we got of the game, and it was awesome, man. And then like after that, we were just like on the news sites looking for as much updates of the game. We were like keeping like our eyes peeled on like seeing what characters gross. Like my team at the beginning was 0 X-23 Iron Man, and I kind of regret to this day. It's like, why did I even drop 0? If I had kept it, man, what would have happened?
Oh yeah, you got a point there.
Indeed, and
I can see Darius do lightning loops now, just like
lightning loops.
Hey man, you might actually won a major, man.
Yeah, dirt nap, all kinds of nonsense could have happened, unfold. But yeah, man, it's like so that was the game that got me into the scene. It was like it was probably my favorite fighting game of all time. It still is my favorite fighting game of all time. But nowadays, you guys see me have moved on to Street Fighter V. And I chose Street Fighter V as to be the next game that I wanted to play, simply because is that I didn't get into Street Fighter 4, and it was like one of the most popular fighting games outside of Marvel. And I was like, I wanted to at least keep up with the community in that aspect. Where if Street Fighter continued, then I'm pretty sure it's going to have another large player base. Unfortunately, Street Fighter V launch was rough, and I mean there were still a lot of people that played it, but you know, as you guys know, most of the Street Fighter 4 community didn't gravitate towards it. So
yeah,
I mean it still has its own scene, and our scene here in Georgia is still strong. We still have about 15-20 people that play on a consistent basis. I'm one of those people. I mean, it helps that I play Cammy, who's, you know, it's
now,
pretty cheap.
I do want to ask, what made you want to play Cammy?
So
you played Cammy back in Street Fighter 4, correct?
Nope, I did not play Cammy in Street Fighter 4. I played Guy in Street Fighter 4. Yep. That's how I even know about the Alabama scenes, because Maurice, Nice One, he was my teacher for Guy when I was playing Street Fighter 4. It was hilarious. Wow. I met Nice One. I met Tim, you know, through Marvel 3. And I met Maurice. Nice One.
I remember I yelled at you one time.
Oh my gosh!
That's funny because Darius is usually the one yelling at everybody else because TO.
Indeed. And I played Cammy because she plays like S23. That's the only reason why I played Cammy.
Really? Because I'm trying to think. So, I don't know enough about X23, but like, how does that?
You know what? She does have a dive kick. They both have dive kicks.
They both have dive kicks. That's one of the similarities. X23's dive kick is better because it's plus everywhere. But
hey, let me super jump on top of the screen and do a dive kick. Don't worry.
Exactly. But
Do a crossover
no,
with Iron Man.
but now S23 is like rush down heavy. She's always in your face. Like she stays on top of the opponent. And like Cammy has that similar type of play style where she's like in your face. She has plus normals that you have to really guess like how to get her off of you. And her walk speed is just one of the best walk speed in the game. I tried playing Ryu and I felt the difference of walk speed. I was like, okay, yeah, I cannot play any character that has even a moderate amount of walk speed. It has to be someone with high, fast walk speed in Street Fighter V.
Right, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can go ahead and start moving into what's your involvement in the Georgia FGC so far?
Okay, so yeah, I'll tell you guys how I started becoming a TO. It's like I was a competitor. I went to our local tournaments called Battle and Brew, like on a consistent basis, and those were fun.
Those are throwbacks.
Exactly, man. Those were some fun tournaments every Wednesday or Thursday night. We would all get together, had like 30 plus people in the building, man. It was crazy.
I never got to go to them, but I would always watch the stream, the Funky P streams
Funky
back
P,
then.
shout out to him. And it's crazy too. Like he has grown. Like I've seen Funky P started from the bottom, right? And like literally witnessed the growth of like his stream and his production. Now he's doing like national level events, tournaments, or even conventions. And he's all over the world too, traveling. And it's hilarious too, because last year, Battle and Brew asked me to come back and host tournaments for them, and guess who they brought back with them with me? Funky P. So he never forget his roots.
It's cool that he scaled up and did all his other stuff, but he still was cool enough to come back and do something like local like that.
Exactly. But yeah, like it was unfortunate though. Battle and Brew, they were relocating at the time when like Street Fighter 4 was popping, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 just came out, and they had to close down their original location. And so for a while, there was no tournaments going on in Georgia. Atlanta Revival, as you guys know, was defunct. There was nothing going on in that front, and there was nothing for a while. And then my roommate now, Walter, he started Gwinnett Brawl. And Gwinnett Brawl was an established weekly tournament series dedicated for Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I hopped on board, I think, a couple months after that they started. I mean, I knew Walter since high school. It's hilarious. Like, we rode the same bus together, but we didn't know each other like that until we got into the FGC.
So you didn't even know he played fighting games back then, I guess,
did
right?
not. No, I did not. It was like him, David Kim, who also was a friend of mine. Like, we all went to the same high school. Eddie Moo, Not Enough Damage. We all went to the same high school, and we just did not know each other. It's hilarious. Like every time I bring that up to people, they get a crack out of it. It's like, how did you guys even like form a relationship and not even know each other existed at that time? Well, it's just like
That's wild.
It's fighting games, man. And so like I wanted to hop on board because the main reason why I wanted to become a TO was because I knew what it felt like, being new to the scene and not knowing anyone, being nervous and everything like that. And so it's like anytime I met somebody who was the first time coming out to a tournament, I always greet them. I always try to make sure that they were comfortable. I got to play a couple of games with those players. I asked them a couple of questions, just try to get them a little bit more acclimated. Because it's always helpful when you have someone that approaches that person first, because like when you're coming in the scene for the first time, you feel a little bit scared.
It's a bit daunting. Yeah, for sure.
And so it's like, I know what that feels like. And fortunately for me, when I first got into the FGC, I was in Kansas when I started playing more and more seriously. There was Kaya Boss Max Hicks. He was a TO in Kansas who's from Atlanta. It's hilarious. He was Shin Blanca's right-hand man. and then he was running tournaments in Kansas for trips to a final round. And when I met him, I told him that I was from Atlanta, and it's like instant connection right there. And he was like, propping me up and everything like that, cheering me on, and giving me advice, pointers, telling me like who to talk to in the community to try to get more games in, and that advice has carried me through the entire time, man, because it's like gave me the courage to even ask, hey, like in the Kansas community, like, is it all right if I come hang out with you guys? How you got after the tournament, they have that after party, they go out to eat dinner or something like that. And so I just asked if I could tag along, and they were like, yeah, man, come on, tag along. And so, yeah, man, so I try to like carry that with me, and then just with Gwinnett Brawl, they saw how active I was in regards to the community. I mean, and how passionate I was with wanting to help promote the scene and promote the tournament itself. So they brought me on full time, and because I was already friends with them, it was like kind of like an easy transition. It was like a seamless transition, to be honest with you.
Cool. When was the first Gwinnett Brawl? I'm trying to think. I know I felt like I went to one of the early ones, but I don't remember the exact, like, if it was like one of the first ones.
So I remember the first Gwinnett Brawl was February 2012. I actually dug it up just a couple weeks ago. DB Joseph, do you guys remember him? The Sakura player, Street Fighter 4? Yeah,
we still talk to him.
Yeah, DB Joseph, he would always complain how Battle and Brew would not have setups. Because in reality, Battle and Brew had 3 setups maximum, and sometimes they would have 50 people, a 50-man bracket to run through. And the tournament started at 7, wouldn't even finish till like 12 or 1 a.m. So it was not enough time to get any casuals in, stuff like that. So I remember him. He won our first Gwinnett Brawl tournament for Street Fighter 4, and he had complimented us, because DB Joseph rarely ever gives out compliments. He's usually
most of the time when he does, he's trolling. And so it's like I don't even know when to take it serious or not. Like,
yeah, but he was very, very sincere about it. He was saying that Gwinnett Brawl was probably his favorite tournament that he went to, only for the fact that it had setups. Like we had like 6 setups, and then like we started early, and like we ran through the tournament pretty fast. And it's like people had enough time to get casual games in, and it was fun, man. February 2012, that was our first tournament. It was 2020 now, so we've been going for about 8 years.
And you guys have always been at Wasteland Gaming this whole time, or did you start out somewhere else?
No, the first tournament that we hosted was at a bowling alley, which is literally down the block from Wasteland Gaming. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a bowling alley. It's called I Love Bowling. I believe.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's based off of I Love Pho. Yeah, there's an I Love Pho Vietnamese restaurant right around the corner from Wasteland, and so it's in that same plaza. And Walter and David, they were the ones who started Gwinnett Brawl. And unfortunately, they had to cut back on hosting those tournaments at that bowling alley, because the price to rent out that venue was too high. Like, it was extremely high. And the amount that we charged players to get in wasn't really covering that cost. So at the time, I was working at Jimmy John's, and I was doing delivery sandwiches, and I actually delivered a sandwich to Wasteland Gaming. And I was like, I lived here in Georgia for 9 years and not even know that this place existed, because it's like hidden in the back. You can't see it.
Yeah,
like you can only know that it's exactly. You only know that it's there unless you've been there before. And so I asked the owners there. I said straight up, because it was a spacious venue. They didn't really have much going on at the time. I just chat with them. I say, how would they feel about us having like consoles, games, or whatever here, along with the trading card community, to see if we could bring more business for them. And they were down with the idea. And that was like I said, like 2 or 3 months after we started hosting tournaments at the bowling alley. And like Walter and David, they were on the verge of just canceling Gwinnett Raw altogether because of the cost. And we've worked a deal out with Wasteland to make it affordable and a deal that makes sense for both parties involved. And so we moved Gwinnett Raw to Wasteland, and we've been there ever since.
Man, yeah. I mean, I've never had any issues at that venue since I've been going. So I mean, it's definitely been working out.
Yeah, it's been working out for us quite a bit. And there have been times where we're considering like moving or upgrading or, because we're always fearful that, Wasteland might run out of business or something like that, but it's never happened. We had to do some renegotiations only once with regards to the prices for the venue, only because they were giving us more space. But outside of that, man, it's been a non-issue. Wasteland's been wonderful.
So I think another thing I noticed with you guys doing, like, I guess to bring this up as well, like you guys were working with E-League as well.
But yeah, that was when we've been established tournament organizers for a while. I think for like 4 or 5 years, and we got a ping on our email about E-League wanted to look for people to help out with their endeavors into fighting games. And we were like, what is this? We saw that E-League was connected with Turner Broadcasting Studios, and they had actually invited us out to dinner one day and to a fancy, fancy Korean barbecue restaurant. We were pretty like stoked. And yeah, they asked us if we wanted to be part of their E-League Street Fighter V tournament series to be able to host their amateur tournaments. You guys are aware of the Street Fighter V tournament championship that they had here in Atlanta, Georgia, where they flew out, I think 32 players to compete for, the $250,000 prize pool.
Yeah.
And so
2017, right?
And then they were broadcasting all those tournament matches on television. Most of them were on stream as well, and the production of that series was beyond what we have ever done before and what we have ever gone to. It was amazing.
It was super crazy. Like, cause I mean, it was to the point where, we drove out there from, it's like a 2 hour, 45-minute drive for us, man. We were driving out there just to spectate, be a part of the tournament too before that. But, like, it was just cool being in the audience just to see that stuff, man.
Exactly. Like, and you imagine how we felt that they even had the nerve or even have, the trust to hire us to help with running some of like that productions. Like, not only did they allow us to run the amateur tournaments before the actual live show went on air, they actually had us be the tournament organizer on stage, just to be able to make sure, like basically the referee, if you call it, on stage to make sure that both of the players were set. They were established that there was no issues going on with the console or any problems with the controllers. It was awesome, man. And they had kept us in touch for not just the Street Fighter V event, but the Tekken 7 event and the Injustice 2, I believe.
It was the Injustice 2 finals for that year.
Yes. Yeah. And then then Street Fighter V as well. We got to take pictures with Punk and Tokido when they won the championships. It's like that was really, really sick. They had no problems with us, wanted to like chat with the pro players. We like Musa and I, we even got to play some of the players while they were here. And Walter got to eat dinner with some of the players. And so it was a unique experience that I'll never forget, and I'll be always thankful and grateful for them.
So do you think like that opened up doors for some of the like the Atlanta like organizers as well? Because like when I saw you guys doing E-League and like Marco with like +2 on block, his team was able to do the Brawlhalla World Championships as well.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think like that opened up like more doors for you guys to do more stuff, as if like if someone came up to you guys?
I believe that was the case for a majority of reasons. That experience probably did inspire a bunch of other players to start their own organizations. Wanted to have that passion to become a tournament organizer around Georgia itself. Marco even helped us with that brawl at a certain period of time. He was our second stream, and we'll always be thankful for Marco because we saw the production level that he put into the stream and everything like that, and had to up our game and everything like that. And then Marco decided that there wasn't enough tournaments in Georgia to sustain all the players that we had, because let's be honest, we had 300 players at Gwinnett Brawl at a time at that point, and it was getting too fat.
And this is before you guys were like splitting up the games too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you guys were running Smash, Street Fighter, Tekken, whatever games that were out there in that time, all in one day.
And it was getting too much to handle for us as well. So yeah, we did have to split it. But then Marco decided to split as well and form +2 on Block. And with +2 on Block and Gwinnett Brawl, we operated with a relationship that we understood that, hey, they are going to host tournaments fighting game tournaments on one weekend while we'll host a Smash, and then we'll host Smash while they host fighting game tournaments on the other weekend. And so we would just alternate games to host, so that way it would give players more time or more place to practice and play and compete against one another. Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess like during that time and everything, you end up, because I remember you used to work for Bank of America, right?
Yes.
And so, and then you got another opportunity to work for Axis Replay.
Yes. Axis Replay is a new gaming venue that just opened up recently. It's been open for about a year now, and they primarily it's like a LAN center. They have mostly PCs. They have 36 PCs that are state of the art. They have 8 PlayStation 4s. 7 of them are PS4 Pros. They have 10 Xbox Ones, and I got hired on I think around June of last year. I got hired on by Axis to be their bookkeeper, because I graduated from Georgia State as an accountant, and so I'm pretty good with math, keeping numbers and keeping tracking and everything like that. But Axis found out about me because I actually ran a tournament with Romanova and +2 on Block called Earthworm Dojo. Earthworm Dojo was the release of Mortal Kombat 11, and believe it or not, that was the very first tournament that Ninja Killer had actually played offline in his career.
Really?
Indeed.
Yeah, because I remember like the big talk with him is like when Injustice 2 came out, he didn't really care too much for it, so he just kept playing like MKX. And so like everybody used to talk about how Ninja Killer was just finding more and more tech after the game came out and just still playing it. And then because I don't think he won that one, did he? Did he win Earthworm? I can't remember.
No, yes, he did win Earthworm Dojo.
Oh, he did win it?
Forever
Okay.
King.
Yeah,
he beat.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And at the time,
his brother was there too, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know who they were. I seeded the bracket, and Forever King approached me, and he was like, "Hey, man, why you got Ninja Killer ranked like 39th?" And I'm like, who is that? Forever King was like, "Yo, man, this guy's ridiculous. You should have seeded him higher." And like, I was like, I didn't know, man. No one even explained to me, because like I checked the online tournaments. I checked previous tournaments. I'm sorry, not online tournaments. I checked tournaments that were done in the past. Notable players. I knew who Forever King was because he went to the E-League Championship Series. I knew who like Slayer was because he was part of Yomi. Like I knew like who most of the players were. I just didn't know who Ninja Killer was because I didn't follow online all that much. And
in all fairness, it's a pretty generic name too. So it's like if
Yeah,
you're looking at the
exactly.
bracket and you just see that name and like you have no,
Yeah, I just thought nothing of it. And
yeah.
and sure enough, he won the tournament decisively at that. Both was it Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 10. He beat Forever King in both games. And we had I think 120 people for Mortal Kombat 11 for that tournament. And so it was Pat. It was a stat tournament, and he won. And Access Replay, they were proud of how many people showed up for the event. I think we had about 150, 170 people total. Um, and so they saw how hard I worked for that event and how much effort that I put on to make it happen and everything like that. And so they were looking for a bookkeeper at the time because they had gotten rid of their previous one. And I told them, look, man, if they're willing to hire me, I'll think about it. And at the time, I was getting ready to quit Bank of America to begin with, and so I just got the phone call, and I said, all right, cool. So I joined Axis, and I also helped run tournaments for them as well. So that never left. I still run tournaments for Gwinnett Brawl. I'll run tournaments for Axis. I'll run tournaments for Battle and Brew. It didn't matter to me. I just kept running tournaments no matter what.
Man, this man is always grinding.
Hey, I respect that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's definitely a hard worker.
That's something that I definitely want to get into at a certain point because I know I'm not going to be able to play games competitively forever. And it's like, I would like to still be a part of the scene. And I mean, the thing with Bama is like, I don't feel like there's a ton. I mean, we do have a few tournaments, but like, there's definitely, I feel like there's not a whole lot as far as like tournaments and TOs for the state. So if it's even if it's not me running a tournament, I definitely want to help somebody else with,
Their
doing it, so.
endeavors and everything. I mean, that is a good way to stay involved with the community itself. Like because when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 started to die off, we were receiving fewer and fewer entrants. It kept me staying relevant in the community. Like even though Marvel was my main game, I still like knew people who played other games like Guilty Gear, Street Fighter 4, obviously, Tekken 7. Like I mean. I've known Pochop for years. You know, I can always say that Pochop and I, we go way, way back, but Pochop has been part of the community even longer than I have. And so I commend him also for sticking around and being part of the community too, because he was the one that started Atlanta Revival. And he's been a pillar for the community. And even though he's taken a backseat in regards to hosting and TOing, he has his own stream and he brings his stream everywhere. So you know,
Pochop was one of the first people I ever fought in tournament. That was it was the Atlanta Revival I went to, and I think it was 2011. He was my first match, I think. He's either my first or second match then. But man, that was that was an experience.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy like with the Atlanta, Georgia scene. There's been a variety of different opportunities that I would say for a lot of players to step up, and even to this day, I'm seeing more and more tournaments popping up in Georgia. We have the Macon tournaments, Reboot Arcade. We have Zone Breakers in Fayetteville. We have you guys already aware Data plus 2 on Block. 404 Esports, brand new organization that just opened up in Metro Atlanta. Those tournaments, like Atlanta has been in a really, really good spot in regards to the tournament scene going on. And I've always been thankful for that. But I always tell the players, man, don't take this for granted. I know you guys in Alabama understand that to a T.
That's what I always say. Like, I'm in that Street Fighter 5 chat for Georgia, and I'm like, man, you guys got it lucky.
Exactly, man. Like I told you guys, I've been into the Kansas community, and that was actually the first community that I actually joined in regards to being part of the FGC. And the Kansas community, man, their scene is small. It's like on the border of Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, right? And they only have one tournament weekly going on, and the players don't really travel as much. So it's like with that scene and everything like that, just being the big fish in the small pond was good enough for them. And I'm like, no, you guys need to go out and travel more and experience more. There's more competitive aspects to the fighting games than just being a big fish in a small pond. And
Right.
Now,
and yeah,
oh no, go my bad. My bad.
but yeah, and like the Kansas community, they starting to travel more, but here in Georgia, man, it's a whole nother story. You got players on a national level that live here. So if you really want to be the best in your own backyard, you honestly are being one of the best in the whole country. So it's like,
Yeah. Like a
it's
lot of strong
crazy.
players in multiple games in the
Yeah.
Georgia scene.
And so I always tell the players, man, look, if you ever want to get good at a game, just hit somebody up in the community. We're always here to help each other and help each other grow. And I mean, and that's also been a motivation for myself to, to continue to stick around and be a part of this community. Because our players are not shy away from the competition, and we always try to build each other up to make us stronger as a state instead of just as an individual.
Right.
So with all that going on, right? Do you ever feel like, man, like you guys just have way too much stuff going on? At least in just like the Metro Atlanta area, right?
Yeah, so that has been an issue for Georgia recently. No, you know what? I'll take that back. It's not recently. It's been a constant issue. I think with after Gwinnett Brawl coming into town, like we have seen more and more tournaments pop up lately. Like it was, plus two on block, obviously. We have 404 esports. We have Zone Breakers. I already listed most of, not all of them that are active right now. But in the past, we also had Yomi Gaming. You guys remember Yomi? Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Emotions. I don't think
Yeah, that
you
was
guys
another
ever heard
one.
of Emotions. Yeah, like I've seen tournaments come and go on a regular basis. Round 3 gaming is another one, and round 3
What was the
gaming.
one ATL Benjamins?
Yeah,
That
ATL
one as
Benjamins
That
was
was
well.
at
Emotions.
Emotions, I think. Yeah.
That
That
was
was
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so because of they no longer exist because there was oversaturation. There was just far too many tournaments going on in Georgia, and which divided up the player base because not everyone is able to go to every tournament each week. I mean, the venue fee price for the tournaments is at least $10. So if you're trying to go to 3 or 4 different tournaments a week, that's $40 that you just spent right there.
Not even
And
considering like the driving or anything like that, transportation and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
And so it was wearing thin for a lot of us. That's why with Gwinnett Brawl, we started out as doing a weekly series, and then we switched to doing a monthly series for that very reason. Um, and so we have to be careful with it because we don't want to hurt our player base by having too many tournaments. Like I know we have another series called Versus Realms as well going on too, and even Axis we had to tone down with us hosting too many fighting game tournaments because we were already affecting our turnout for our other tournaments and events. Like is the truth of the matter is it's oversaturation is an issue.
So you said Versus Realm, and
Mhm.
didn't they used to try to do tournaments before?
Yeah, so they had tried to do tournaments in the past before. It didn't work out. Plus Two on Block was hosting tournaments there as well, but then they decided to part ways and host tournaments at another location. And then Versus Realms, I was approached by another organization called FGC Fight Club.
Oh
I know you guys
yeah.
see those guys on Twitter. FGC Jesus is part of that Fight Club organization, and so Versus Realms is partnering with them to host fighting game tournaments again. And they are hosting mostly Samurai Showdown, Tekken 7. And so it's another one of those tournaments. It's like, was this really necessary? But we can't force people to not run tournaments or prevent it. Like if anybody wants to run tournaments, that's their own choice. And I cannot fault anybody. It's just like our own choice to run Gwinnett Brawl. I mean, At this point in time, we just have to look at it as a competition. And one of my hopes and dreams have always been to try to build an infrastructure in Georgia in order to help every tournament organization in our region, in our area. So that way, instead of us negatively affecting each other, that we will work together to build our scene in a collective level, because I want to have as many tournaments as possible. I'll go to each and every one of them.
Right. It's about making sure that everybody's trying to look out for each other. Nobody's it's like stepping on anybody's toes, and everybody's got the community's interests at
interest
hand,
in
right?
mind. Exactly. And like there's another organization that wants to open an esports venue that I went to last week. I went to a roundtable. Two guys who want to open up a gaming center in Cobb County, which doesn't have anything out there yet. And I was like, wow, another tournament or another organization that wants to have video games here in Georgia. And I was like, look, man, I'll be more than happy to help you guys out, but I just be careful and just, be mindful enough that there's already organizations here. You just got to pick your battles, make sure you understand that you have to have something that will encourage and entice people to come to your event and your venue, especially when there's already established venues out here. Like the most go-to venue I would say right now is 404 Esports. Greg, who runs 404 Esports, not you, Greg.
I know the other Greg.
Exactly. But yeah, he's been awesome. He opened for business, I think, was it last April or March? And the player base here in Georgia have just loved him. And I mean, it's been awesome because his venue is literally dedicated for casual gatherings and sessions. It's a great spot for players to travel to. It has parking, has restaurants nearby, and Greg is a down to earth guy. I guess the community likes that one of us type of mentality. Because Greg is he's always looking out for the fellow man and everything like that. And it's helpful that he's into the same type of things that we're into, like anime, fighting games, sports, football, and everything like that. So he's able to relate to us more so than for than someone like an Axis or something like that,
Right.
Yeah. And then also he's on social media 24/7 as well.
That's one thing that I'll say. He's always, and that's the thing, right? So I know that I'm not going to say who it is, but somebody's definitely said something about some of the other TOs on social media, not taking advantage of it. But yeah, that dude's always tweeting out, always out there putting stuff out. So
I don't blame him. Honestly, I admire it. To be it brought my game level up as well, because I don't really be on Twitter or Facebook all that much as well. And I was seeing him post nonstop too. I was like, you know what? I think this is actually a right way to do it, and he's doing pretty good. And the community, like I said, man, they love him for it. And they love him for the passion that he brings into our community. I feel like it's kind of lit in a spark in our community as a whole, because I can see us see our community kind of being stagnant, in the sense that we were just getting the same players, we were always getting the same placings. It was no real change or anything like that. And Greg, because of his involvement with our scene, has actually gotten several new players to come out and compete in tournaments and everything like that, and to be introduced to the scene. So I think, like I said, I don't blame anyone who wants to start their own organization or anything like that. I'm all for it 100%. Only thing I ask is, try to coordinate with the other TOs in the region, in the area. And Greg has also been an advocate of that. He has coordinated with Grenette Brawl. He has coordinated with Access Replay, with Plus Two on Block, and everything like that, man. So it's been wonderful.
Now, I do want to ask a question because it just made me think about this. What do you think is the key to bringing new players? Because I guess that's the thing, right? The hardest part is like trying to bring the new people in, because if you keep having the same players, I mean, yeah, that's cool. Your attendance is gonna be pretty good, but like eventually you've got to start bringing new people in because other people are gonna stop playing at some point, right? So
Yeah,
it's like,
because we have work or family or something like that brings up. So the older generation more than likely is going to retire. I see where you're going with it,
yeah,
and like with trying to get the new players into the community, that's a question that I've been asking myself since my involvement with the FGC community as well. Because like I got involved with the community on a whim. Basically, I heard some kids play Smash and then they just introduced me to a website, right? And so it's like I'm hearing stories all over the tournament or scene circuits that I go to, like CEO or DreamHack or Evo and stuff like that, and I hear the stories of how everyone got involved to the scene. It always starts with, oh well, I met somebody or I knew somebody or I went to a stream or just happened upon it on a Facebook post, stuff like that. And it's like those are some resources that are able to get new players into the scene. But I think one of the best resources to get people to go out to, and join the scene or become aware of that there is a fighting game community is by like going to schools. And I've actually started doing that. I actually started going out to schools, high schools, middle schools, colleges, and just handing out like different flyers, pamphlets, and just mouth to mouth, just telling people like, hey, if you guys like fighting games, you'd like to compete and everything like that, here are the spots. Come out and check us out and everything like that. And usually that will work. And the problem is though when those players come out to the tournament to compete, unfortunately they don't win. like a certain somebody. And so they lose and get demolished. And so they're discouraged and then they're less likely to come back. And that's where people like me who come in and step in and like tell them, was like, look man, I know you did poorly in the tournament, but if you still feel motivated to continue to play or if you want to get better or improve, then here, join our group, join our organization, join Facebook, like follow us on Twitter, man. Stay tuned, because I would hate to see you give up or stuff like that. And you can't convince everybody. However, there are those people that will listen and that will actively go out and work for it. And like I've personally witnessed it myself a couple of years ago, where Alex, our Blanca player, who joined our fighting game community, Street Fighter Five, while Street Fighter Five was at its prime, and he just started out playing it. Like he's been playing fighting games for a while, but not competitively. And Alice would get destroyed. He would like not win a single round or match or anything like that. And that man would just keep coming and keep playing and keep practicing. And then eventually now, like he's like one of our top 5 or top 10 players in Street Fighter Five. He's part of our Street Fighter Amateur League tournament series on our team, and he has won every single match that he's gone up against. So that just shows you that if players who even starting out late, like they still have a shot and have a chance. It's about the want and the drive to to reach that point. And so it's our duties and our jobs to bring that out of players, to keep them motivated and keep them invested. I think that's the real responsibility of a TO.
That's the that's the hardest thing with fighting games, right? Because it's like it's a genre that it's not meant to be very like friendly to newcomers, right? Like it's because the thing is with fighting games is when you lose, there's nobody to blame but yourself, right? Like you can't really you play like any shooter or whatever, like a MOBA, you might have a team or whatever. You could be like, oh, somebody else like messed up or whatever, right? It's
exactly. And
you have to look at yourself and be like, yeah, that was me. That was the, that didn't do this, or I didn't do this, or I don't know this, so that's why I lost. Like it's rough, man. It's rough getting past that. Like it's one of those things where once you get past the initial hump of like, okay, I'm bad, but I can get better. Like once you get past that, like I feel like that's it's a feeling that no other video game can give you, I think, because it's like there's always something to improve on with fighting games. I feel like there's never a point where you're at your peak, right? There's just always something you can improve on. So it's
Indeed.
like it's a I'm trying to think of a good analogy for it. It's like it's a very steep hill to get over, but like once you get over that, then it's like then everything else opens up. You know what I mean?
I think the simplest analogy you can compare it to is like riding a bicycle, man. Like I remember as a kid growing up, riding a bicycle seemed impossible.
Yeah.
And then once you finally get your balance, it's like it's second nature to you now. It's like you just never forget it. And so that was one of the things too. What I learned when I was working at Axis, we were doing a summer camp program, and during that summer camp program, almost every single kid gravitated towards the shooter, Fortnite, a mobile game. And it was funny. There was this one little girl who insisted on wanting to play Street Fighter. I was like, what? It was like a 12-year-old girl who wanted to play Street Fighter, man. I would never forget this. And I had her pick Cammy because I mean it's a character I play, and it was a character that was easier to learn.
I feel like you're being a little biased there.
No.
You could have had her pick any other character besides Cammy.
Look, man, it was the easiest character to learn, so I had her pick Cammy. Okay, all right. And man, when I tell you how hard and how difficult and how time consuming it was for her to complete a single bread and butter, and by bread and butter, I meant stand medium punch, stand heavy punch, spiral arrow. I spent 2 hours trying to get her to do that. And man, it took a lot of effort for me to just not lose my patience and for her to never give up, which I was more happy than anyone when she finally was able to do it. Like it took repetition and it took learning how to do motions, learning how to like continually just to time when she's supposed to press heavy punch after the medium punch to connect and everything like that. And when she finally hit the combo, man, I think I jumped out of my chair. I was excited. She was happy. Like just to see that expression on her feelings, like, in her face, like how happy she was to finally hit that combo. It was a lot of joy. And I think that's where a lot of players, that's where the frustration gets to, because like they cannot get that combo down. So then they just imagine themselves as like, man, if I can't even get this combo down, like how am I even supposed to win a match? You know what I mean? And so that barrier to entry, man, it's hard. It's rough. It's huge. And I feel like that's the most difficult in regards to getting newer players into the fighting games, because there's no real like way of teaching or helping players understand how the mechanics of fighting games truly work. I know when you guys like see someone who's a complete beginner who tries to play a fighting game, their first instinct is just to press buttons and mash, right?
Yeah, just because it's just like you just want to keep. It's like I guess it's the old thing of like, well, if I just keep pressing things, something's going to happen eventually, right?
Yeah, like an instant gratification. I think that's why people like to gravitate to shooters and to MOBAs, because all you have to do is like press a click of a button and something happens. You're instantly doing something. Like where fighting games, you might be pressing punch and kicks, but those aren't really exciting. Those aren't really things that make you go wow, snap, like when you're doing a critical art versus or doing a fireball. And so like those take time to learn, and players these days don't have that time anymore. And
patience.
Yeah, that too. And it's starting to worry me a lot in regards to where the FGC community is at this point in time, is that the barrier to entry is so high, and you see more and more players gravitate towards other games and not towards the traditional fighters. I always make this comparison, like with Super Smash Brothers, right? You see, Super Smash Brothers has a boat ton of entrants. Players, you can find them anywhere. It doesn't matter what age they are in as well. They could be 5-year-old or they could be 30-year-old. They know how to play Smash. And I think the reason behind that is because with Smash, in order for you to do something like some type of action, something that cool or anything like that, you just press a button, right? Press B, or forward B, and you're already doing a special, right? So I think that's why more players gravitate towards Smash than your traditional fighting game.
Because the barrier entry is a lot. I wouldn't say it's a lot easier, but like
slower.
Yeah, it's lower.
Yeah, a lot lower. Yeah,
it's anybody can pick up Smash and just press stuff, and things are gonna happen. You don't even have to. But obviously, there's depth to the game.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, Smash is probably the hardest fighting game out of anything. Like at a competitive level, like when I see top players, edge guarding, doing combos, tilts, like getting all the like characters off screen, and the movement in that game is beyond anything you have to do with fighting games. So it's like, it's crazy when you think about it. It's like you have twice as many players who play Smash than your traditional fighting game, but it's a harder game to learn.
Yeah, like it has like a very large, I guess, scale, right? Like anybody can play it, but it's like there's also like a high enough skill gap for the people that really want to take it that serious.
Indeed.
And who doesn't want to see Mario beat the hell out of everybody else? So
yeah,
it also has that casual appeal of like it just has everything that anybody who likes video games. There's going to be somebody in there that you know what I mean. So it's like it's easy to find a character to gravitate towards.
Indeed, agree. But I will never give up on fighting games. I think with Capcom itself and with what's the game? Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I think their training mode, their tutorial mode, has done very helpful in regards to like teaching new players like the basics of understanding the fighting games. I just think they need to build upon that. One of the ideas that I thought about is that like how NetherRealms do it with Mortal Kombat and with the Injustice. That how they have a story mode right built into the game, and their story mode is pretty top notch. Like those story modes can actually like go for movies if they wanted to. And I think with those story modes in NetherRealm games, they force you to play a variety amount of characters for you to get a feel and understand how each character works, right? I feel like developers should take that to the next level. I feel like they should be able to put in trials or put in like objectives in each mission or in each match for you to advance towards to. You have to achieve that objective during the match in order for you to advance to the next stage. So like, for example, you have to block 5 times and then defeat the opponent in order for you to advance. Or if you have to do a fireball 3 times, or you have to do, press light attack or something like that, or do a basic combo, like something that will teach players how to play, but keep them invested and keep them like engrossed into the game itself. And there's nothing really like that right now.
Yeah. It's been a minute since. Well, I mean, I guess with MK11, but like I haven't played the story mode yet. But it's been a minute since like another company's tried to actually do that to get like they capture that audience with their story mode, because like what MK9 did it, everybody was just like, "Yo, this is so sick!" Like the story mode is so awesome.
Hey, man.
And you like during that time, right? I think a big thing like everybody was like complaining about was like, man, like why do we need an arcade mode for you, or why do we need a story mode for? We're just gonna go to training mode anyway. But most people don't realize like, hey, there are people who are not like who are casual players, right?
Exactly.
Who just want to play the game just to play the game. And so having that story mode into the game is like, I think it's crucial, because you look at Mortal Kombat, right? Even though sometimes their player base and tournaments are like not the greatest, but if you look at their sales and everything, like
it's high.
Yeah, they're high. They're all higher than like Street Fighter.
Yeah, I work at Axis. The most common game that a lot of our customers request is Mortal Kombat, a fighting game in general. I'm sorry.
So
it's just crazy to me. It's like the reason why is because they have a story mode built in, and that's very engrossing, and people like to do that and play it. And I don't blame them for it. Like you said, the casual audience is a lot higher than the competitive scene, and I think in order for us to grow our competitive scene is to give the casual audience a chance, just give them a chance to want to play the game. And once they learn if they like the game or not, then they'll decide it upon themselves whether or not to take their game to the next level. So if you don't even give those casual audience a chance to learn how to play the game properly, then you're never going to get them involved in the competitive scene.
And I think another thing I've been liking lately with like companies have been doing is like they've been advertising other events in their games.
Yes.
Even though like Street Fighter, they just started doing it a lot more recently. But like there's stuff like in their files that like, hey, there's a woman saying final round, like final round like ATL or whatever, and like I wish they
never
like
followed through with that, but that would have been cool if they did do that. Yeah,
like it'd definitely been awesome if they would have did that. Like, but
I mean, I guess they advertise CPT events currently, and like right now they have the Intel World Open or whatever. They've got that advertised on one of the loading screens. I mean, I guess they're doing that a little bit.
Yeah. But that right there could definitely get the casual players who are like, well, I want to look more into like the competitive side, and so like having that type of advertisement can definitely draw them in. But I don't know how I don't know if MK11 does it or not, or has like anything like that.
They do have like a screen that has like upcoming events and stuff like that on it.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, that's good to keep people like on notice about all the events that are going on. That's one way of letting the players know like this is how you get involved into the scene if you want more into it. But I'm talking about just like getting people started with like wanting to play and everything like that. Like I think another idea is that Capcom and most all fighting game companies should adopt the free to play model. Like look towards to Killer Instinct. And how they did their free-to-play model. They released the game on Xbox One for people just to try it out and see how they like it and whatnot. And now it's like it has 30. It started with 2 characters, and now it's at 30 characters for Killer Instinct.
Well, it was more like 8, but sure. My bad.
I can't remember.
I came up with a complete asshole on that. No, like I used to play like Killer Instinct, and like no, their model was great. So if you didn't have like the season 1 pass, they released they allowed you to play that one. Like there was like a rotating character every week that you could play for free. So until you bought like the little pass they had, you just play whatever character is free that week. And so they rotate it every week. And they'll let you know, like, hey, this week is Tusk, or this week is Jago, or this week is Saberwolf. And they did a really good job with doing it. Because like what Double Helix had it in the beginning. And like I thought they did an amazing job with that game when it first came out. So
and
the other big thing was, I mean, again, it's free to play. So like the barrier of entry, that's the other thing, right? Like a lot of these fighting games, people have to drop 60. So one, you have to either be interested in it. And then on top of that, you add the other barrier of like, well, now you got to spend $60 on a game that you may not even like. Whereas,
well, even with Killer Instinct, right? It was $20. But
or you could just play free, right?
Try it out
play
for free,
or 20. And then if you want all the extra stuff, right? I think you like extra cosmetics, whatever. Then you drop to 40 and get cosmetics for all the characters for that season.
Yeah,
and so I thought that model was great. If like we'll see. I don't know if the new Riot game will be free to play or not, but like
I'm pretty sure they're gonna go that route. They'll be free to play, and then people will they can buy in with cosmetics, or there'll be some version that has all this other stuff that's added to it. If you want,
because you see games like Fortnite, I think Overwatch is free to play now, right? Yeah, Fortnite, Overwatch. Oh, it's not. Okay, yeah. No. So Fortnite, League of Legends. I'm trying to think of the other game. there's another mobile game that's our PlayerUnknown Battleground, right? Those games are all free to play. And I think one of the things that why those games are so popular is because they're free to play. And the way that those games make a lot of their money off of is by those players buying skins, and stages, cosmetics, or whatever for that game itself. And I think that the fighting game, they can do that as well. There's nothing that will prevent them from doing that.
Well, I know DOA is not like they have free to play, and they have like I guess they kind of adopted like the KI model of like switching out the rotating characters.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know how their online community is, or what the numbers are, but like they're doing it as well. Like, hey, you can do this, or you can drop to 60 and get all the characters.
Yeah, because right now what it is, the issue is that you're not getting your game out to as many players as possible. I think with making the game free to play, then you're allowing more and more players to have access to your game. So that way, if they like it or not, especially if they like it, they'll invest into it. They'll start buying more costumes or buying more characters, buying the season passes and stages and all that stuff for the game. And then that's what you want more than anything, is so that way like people can get that taste. It's always about like how you go to a restaurant or something like that and you want to test something out, like get a sample, and then you get that taste. Like, no, the restaurant doesn't charge you for a sample. Because they know that if you like it, you're going to buy it. So the same thing with fighting games, the same type of mentality.
So, because of all the, coronavirus stuff going on, it's been a lot of tournament cancellations and, events like venues, like shutting down temporarily, and just things it's definitely put a wrench in the community so far. I guess one thing that I wanted to ask you about was, one of the big reasons that people show up to these tournaments is for, these pro tours, right? Capcom Pro Tour, Tekken World Tour. And one of the first big things was these guys were just pulling out of events like kind of left and right. And then after that, it was, other, events having to cancel because of this. But I saw Coach was talking about this on Twitter, so I thought it'd be a good thing to bring up. But do you feel like with the I guess the trend of pro tours being so big and being tied into some of these events, do you feel like these pro tours that were a part of these tournaments that have backed out or whatever, do you feel like they have any obligation to these TOs and event runners to help with some of the issues associated with, lost revenue or lost money that was going to be, part of the event? Should they have to help out some of these events, or is that, I guess it's kind of a question about the dynamic of, pro tours and TOs and tournaments in general.
Yeah, like because in this day and age, pro tours either make or break an event. If you're a pro tour, then that means your event is going to be higher above than anyone else's. That means that more players are willing to go to your event versus if you're not a part of the pro tour.
Right.
And yeah, with this issue of all these tournaments being canceled, now that's the problem, because these companies and developers don't necessarily owe the TOs anything. Honestly, the TOs should be paying the publishers and developers some type of fee and be part of the Pro Tour. But that's not how it works. And I'm thankful for that, because, I don't think the developers should be charging any type of fee of being part of the Pro Tour, because they are allowing the TOs to run the tournaments themselves and the organizations themselves. It was
kind of free ridiculous advertisement at that point for the game, right?
Exactly. You know what I mean? And so it's that type of mutual relationship that the companies and developers have in regards to the actual players and the grassroots communities. And that relationship has been good so far. That's why I don't think that the developers should necessarily help the tournament organizers if they have to cancel the event, or only for the fact that the tournament is still on that organizer. Now, right. If like Capcom or if Namco Bandai, if they had actually put money into the event itself and the tournament itself, then I can see them stepping in to try to make something happen, make it work. but I don't necessarily see Capcom or Namco actually putting like their own money or their financial resources into these tournaments. Honestly, it's just allowing those tournaments to be part of this circuit. And then I think the only money that they usually put in is just the pop bonus, and that's about it.
Yeah.
We don't.
They might have copies of the games or something they give or whatever, but outside of that, that's all they're.
I mean,
they're not
sometimes
giving.
some of them bring their own like streaming team.
Yeah, Capcom does. They have their own stream team, which I can see that being an issue, because it's like Capcom is making money off of the stream of the event itself, and I don't necessarily see the fairness of that.
That's another thing that made me think about, because it's like, so say for instance, in like the case of Final Round, right? They had last year, it was part of Capcom Pro Tour. They run the tour. They run the stream on their
Capcom's channel.
Yeah, on Capcom stream, right? So while they're using their event, it's not like Larry's getting any stream revenue or ad revenue from anything they're doing. It's just
I guess that's part of the contract of being part of the Pro Tour. Yeah. It's like, that's the negotiations that has to go on with those organizations. Yeah. However, what I do notice and what I have seen is the effect and value of the Pro Tours that are taking on local tournaments. Like small tournaments like 404 Esports and Gwinnett Brawl. Like I've seen more and more players are starting to save up their money to go out to the majors that are part of the Pro Tours instead of attending to the local tournaments. Because what it is that, as I mentioned before, not everyone can afford to go to each weekly. And now everybody's seeing the high level value that they're getting off of going to these Pro Tours. Like Combo Breaker CEO has stepped up their production level to like phenomenal level comparing to like E-League, So instead of just going out to compete in a tournament, you're actually getting like an experience. And so it's like a mini vacation. So like instead of going 0-2 or 1-2 at your local weekly, I'm gonna just save my money and I can go 0-2 at CEO and I get a better experience.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, because that obviously that hurts, the local community. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just kind of the reality of it. Maybe I guess.
And like I'm fearful of it because I'm starting to see less turnout for our locals as the time progresses. And now with the whole coronavirus issue, we have tournaments that are canceling or are closed altogether, but you still have people who wanted to play and compete. So now people are resorting to online tournaments. And I'm starting to see the organizations starting to pop up with online tournaments lately. And I'm like, wow, okay. So like the argument I always hear about whenever I bring up the topic, locals are dying, people are going to stop going out to locals, is that players are willing to still come out for the social experience, right? Like you can never get that when you're playing online. You'll never get that same type of feeling of being around your peers or being around a community that are in the same interests, and you don't get to hear like the blow ups, the pop offs, or the excitement, like feeling like being in a real world environment, right?
Right.
That's understandable. It's true. However, I do believe that comes at a price. And right now, I think players are starting to realize that price can be a little bit too steep or too high and too costly. And so once again, it's like, do I really need to go out and hang out with my friends tonight when I can just play them online? Like, and I feel like with the netcode, even though the netcode for Street Fighter V is not as good as it can be, you still see people are willing to stay at home and play online instead, though, right? And with Street Fighter 6, who knows? The netcode will probably be phenomenal. It'll probably be 1-1. We don't know that. So if the netcode is phenomenal, if it is great, are people still likely to go out to locals? I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing, I guess. It's like, and I don't know. I don't know if it needs to be on the TOs to come up with better ways to incentivize people to want to come out to. I mean, like, because at that point, like, what do? You know, like, I know stuff like, I don't know how well like Rambats do as far as keeping people motivated to like continually show up, doing things like that. But yeah, I guess at that point, it's kind of up to the TOs to figure out, okay, well, you know, what can we do that will keep people engaged and wanting to show up every single week, right? Or not even every single week, but like, you know, enough to still be a part of the community rather than, you know, being only online. I mean, online is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a good tool. It's like vital in becoming like a better player for sure. But I feel like you definitely have to supplement it a bit sometimes, or you don't necessarily have to, but
to have casual gatherings still and everything like that.
Yeah, supplementing it with that is also an important part of improving as well.
Agreed. And then one idea that I have had thought about to try to spice it up a bit, because as I said before, it's like our scene has become a little bit stagnant. Seeing like the same players who get the same placings and everything like that, is to try to hold different type of tournament formats. You know, we haven't ran a team tournament in
I was about to say that was one of my favorite things was doing the team tournaments. I forgot when the last one was that I went to, but
like I did a format where it's like like I seeded all of the players, right? And then like the high seeding players will have to partner with a lower seeding player. And like it was funny, Abdul, who's our lowest seeding player, he won his first tournament because I think he partnered with I want to say either Terrence or Isofeth or somebody, you know, 1 month. And he won Gwinnett Brawl because I got carried.
Hey, look, we take those.
Hey,
yeah, exactly. But no, but it was fun though, and everybody enjoyed it. It was awesome, and I think with the Street Fighter League, the amateur league that I'm part of as well, the format that they have for it is a wonderful format. What it is the Street Fighter Amateur League is a team-based tournament where there's, I think, 16 cities that are part of this event, and that each city has to have five players for their team. And what it is that we go up against another city, and it's Waseda style. So each player has to play. They have to play a match. Like player one of team A has to play player one of team B, and so on and so forth. And then what it is that we don't know the other team's roster or their lineup and how their order is until like an hour before we play. So not only does it allow like players to every player matters, like every player counts. It's not like the team is strongest as its weakest link, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And so you also have to strategize. It's like, okay, so they have Falk or they have an Abigail on their squad. So who are they likely going to pick first, Abigail or Falk? Probably Abigail, because they want to start on a high note, right? You want to get that first win right off the bat, and Abigail is hard to beat. So they're going to probably start Abigail first. All right, so who on our team is good enough to fight against Abigail? So it's like that kind of strategy involved with that format. So I think that's wonderful, and it keeps everyone engaged. Every player matters because every person has to play. I think that will get people motivated to come out if we try to do some type of format like that. If they're not always dependent on having to win by themselves. Like we just said earlier, how players kind of get frustrated when playing fighting games because if they lose, then it's all on them, right? But with this team-based format, you know, they still have a shot at winning, even if they do lose, you know. And their team, if they feel like their teammates or their partners are stacked, they're pretty strong, they feel a little bit more confident with themselves. And actually will probably play better because of it, you know?
Yep. It's less, you feel like you got less weight on your shoulder, or you have somebody else to kind of, you know, help you out. You know what I mean? So, and it also, it kind of gives a sense of camaraderie because now you teammates. So it's like you can kind of root on the other person. So it's like, you know, you kind of develop friends that way as well.
And I honestly think that's where the future of fighting games is leading towards with Capcom, with their SFL, like their actual SFL league, where they have the team-based, you know, 3 versus 3. type format. And I think what it is that they're testing it out to see if this is a viable option going forward with esports, because they're starting to model their esports based off of Overwatch, off of Call of Duty, and how those games have team-based players, team-based matches. And I think with this type of format, you kind of get a little bit more excitement out of the audience, has something like to cheer for. Like, I know if you guys saw the lineup for this new SFL series, like my team that I'm cheering for right now is Problem X, Smug, and who else was on that team? Like probably Knuckle Dudes, Problem X, Smug, and Knuckle Dude. Like that team is stacked, and I'm cheering for that team all the way through. And so I think with this new format that they got going on, it's probably going to be the key future of Street Fighter in the going forward.
Hey man, I want to say one thing. Hey, remember back in the day, there is how during the Marvel we used to like go to Steve's house or like go to Marcus's place and like just have people crack out, and like Marvel.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance like people start doing that today for like whatever games they may play, like Street Fighter or like?
I mean, KB was doing that, but he kind of stopped for a while, so it didn't really pick back up. But I think Darius has been doing stuff at Access for a little bit.
KB was doing it for a bit. Like he was having house sessions, but he moved, so he had to kind of put that on pause.
No, I'm talking about like for like a full weekend.
Like weekend. Oh man, Friday, I don't know if we'll ever see that happen again.
Yeah, I don't think that era has passed. I
think what it is that we just gotten older, man. It's just the priorities and everything.
That is definitely true.
Unfortunately, we got to work the very next days nowadays. Like back in the day, we just had school. We could just skip
I don't know
class
about working on weekends. What's working on the weekends? Do you know what that is, Greg?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Well, not anymore, but
like, man, I remember those days vividly. Drug Fox, right? He was my sensei for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And he was the one that basically trained me and made me become a great player in that game. And man, I used to go to his place at Georgia Tech like every day, and I would just crack out and play Marvel for hours, and I mean hours. Like we wouldn't even think like to drink water, eat food, or anything like that. We would just be so absorbed in that game, and we would lose track of time. Before you know, it'd be like 3 or 4 a.m. the very next day. I'm like, all right, Sammy, I gotta head out. Those were the days, man. I don't know if those days are coming back or still continuing, but just the fact that we still have gatherings is more than enough, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, you got anything else, Tim?
Nah. Just join my OnlyFans. Just subscribe to my OnlyFans.
I think we're good on that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Honestly, I need to start traveling again. Oh my goodness, that's something else that I meant to bring back up as well. It's about our scenes traveling. With Plus 2 on Block, they started this circuit where you have to attend tournaments to nearby states to earn points to attend like a finale event at the end of the circuit. And I think what they're trying to accomplish is to revitalize that aspect of traveling towards tournaments. And I remember back in the day where it's like Georgia would travel to Alabama, North Carolina, Florida, Tennessee on a weekly basis, man. And that's all but gone. It's like, I don't know, when was the last time y'all saw Georgia players in Alabama?
Huh.
Hey man, Atlanta don't travel.
Exactly.
You know
I think he came
Uh-huh.
like in 2018 one time to like Birmingham, and it was like the last time. It was either 2018 or like 2017, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a long minute, man. I remember back when I was in college for Marvel vs. Capcom 3, like you could catch me everywhere. I would be in North Carolina one weekend. I would be in Birmingham one weekend. I would be in Tennessee.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to be disrespectful. But Paintbot and Bass did come out to Auburn this year. Or no, it was last year.
That don't count. That
don't count.
That don't count because Marco, when Marco brings everybody, he brings everybody.
Exactly. You know who's
but I'm talking about
the hardest is Bass. Bass has been pushing that circuit the hardest. And Marco, like they both talking to me about it. There's like they wanted to do that circuit to revitalize us traveling out more often. And I respect them 100% because I've missed that, man. I would come out like I want more of us to start traveling out to tournaments and to compete against other players in different states because you get tired of playing against the same people over and over again. And like playing different people, you learn new experiences, new techniques, something that your own homies can't block. These guys, they can block it. So you're like, oh wow, I got to figure out something else how to beat these guys.
I think from an outsider perspective for Georgia, I think the thing that was kind of I think it goes back to the thing where you guys are really privileged to have a lot of strong players within your area. So it's like to say, well, let's go out to Alabama to go play, granted, we don't have big numbers, but I get it. It's like you could go to your local and play like, 3 of the best players in the country, or you could come down, or you could come down to Alabama and play like, 8 people, so it's like, I guess
I get it. I know. I've done that several times, man. I would travel because I would lose to Not Enough Damage and Roach King here in Georgia. So I was just like, you know what? Let me dip. Let me go to Alabama.
He said, I need the confidence.
Pick up on Cal and pick on Marcus and pick on. Oh man, but yeah.
Sometimes you gotta go out of state to that pick me up. Like, hey man, I'm like, damn, dog, I suck. Then you go out to another area, you go win. I'm like, hey man, bad. No.
Maybe I'm not that bad. Not as bad as I thought I was.
That's fair enough.
Oh my goodness, I get that feeling every time I enter that Reddit tournament, man. Like, was it Greg? You and I played. I got 7th in that tournament.
Yeah,
and it's like, man. I got in 2nd in that tournament 3 times, and I'm like, man, this getting 2nd in that tournament is really hard. But I'm like, I can't even get 2nd at my own Gwinnett Brawl. It's like that's just a level of difficulty of our own team compared to the.
I haven't played in the Reddit like weekly in a minute.
I know, Tim. You usually do compete in those. You stop for whatever reason. I don't know why.
His internet is suspect right now, so
that's why.
Okay. It's suspect. And then I just got tired. Of just like getting 8th place every week.
Well, you gotta get over that hump, man.
I did defeat some demons. You know what I'm saying? I had some some monkeys on my back. I gotta get them off.
It's like I think Adam stopped competing. Well, he did compete last week, but he doesn't compete anymore because it's like he won too many of them. I was like, man, I just want to win one.
I think the best I've ever done is got 2nd place.
And like I told you, I got 2nd 3 times. 3 times.
That's the worst, man.
It sucks. Yeah, it does. It really does. Like, Greg, you got 2nd in your first tournament back in God knows how long. I don't remember the last time you competed in it.
It's been a minute. I definitely stopped doing it for a second because it just takes so long, man.
It does. It really does. And it's like it was kind of shocking that I had to play you. Like I saw the way the bracket was going, and I actually was getting tired as I kept progressing. And I was like, man, if I run up against Greg, I hope I lose. I wanted to beat you. I did wanted to beat you, and I was depressed and discouraged when I didn't. But I was like, you know what? I think that was for the best.
Yeah, it's rough, man. Like I was streaming when I was playing it, so it's like trying to like be engaging on a stream and then playing a tournament, and then it just runs so long, man. It's like, man, that's the only thing. I mean, shout outs to our Street Fighter. I mean, I love what they do, and I mean, it's a great resource being able to have that consistent online play. You know, every week you have a bar that you can go to and be like, all right, how am I doing this week? How, you know, can I improve from last week or whatever?
Exactly.
Can I beat this person?
So I commend Reddit Street Fighter, man, because it's like just doing it out of the passion for the community and for the love of the game. Like, there's no compensation for doing any of that, and we need more people like that in the community to feel about their game, to want to be more motivated to go out there and provide players some type of content to latch onto. And like I said, man, that's just one of the ethics of being a TO or tournament organizer, is wanting to provide a community something to like latch on and play.
Yep, totally. All right, cool. Well, I think I'm gonna end it here because I actually need to eat. But
once again, guys, I appreciate you guys for having me on. I hope I was a good guest.
Yeah. Definitely he definitely had some good insight and some interesting stories. So I think it was a good episode. All right, so quick stuff. Darius, you want to plug your social media where everybody can find you at? Anything you got going on?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Twitter at aDAPt _09, or I think it's just aDAPt09, and then on Facebook, Darius Patterson. I also have a Discord. It's Dapvip, DAPVIP, number 4709. Also, I am hosting our Street Fighter League Amateur League tournament for Atlanta versus Phoenix. We are in the semifinals, top 4, baby. We play next Tuesday. We're probably going to be playing at 9:00 Eastern time. You'll more than likely going to be catching it on Super League stream. Super League has asked us not to stream it on our local channels because they're going to actually produce it. They're having Tasty Steve and Vicious commentate on those matches as well.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and hey, look, man, if we win this tournament, we're one step closer to a pizza party. So, and
the jerseys, you got to remember that.
We all get jerseys. We still haven't gotten them yet. Apparently, they said they mailed them out, so we're just waiting on them. But the winner gets jackets. That's what it is. The winners gets like custom jackets. So yeah, I'm excited, looking forward to it. I think our team has a good shot at making it to the finals. Phoenix has an Abigail player and a Dawson player, Ikeda. I think that's going to be the biggest issue. I think that Ikeda could probably run through our whole team.
Hey,
we'll hopefully my teammates don't let that discourage them.
Wow.
All right, cool. Hold on, you got a Twitch too, right?
Yes, so we have a Twitch channel, Gwinnett Brawl. GB Dojo is the name of our Twitch channel. Make sure you guys follow us. We host tournaments twice a month. Fighting game tournaments are usually hosted at the end of each month, and Smash tournaments is usually hosted at the beginning of each month. However, we are on hiatus due to the coronavirus. But once we get the clear head, you can always find our schedule on Facebook, Gwinnett Brawl, and on Twitter under GB Dojo. Then also with Access Replay, you can follow us for events as well. Right now, we're doing a Call of Duty event on Thursday. It's actually an online Call of Duty event, 2v2. If you guys want to join the Call of Duty, if you guys play shooters or anything like that, just follow Access Replay on Twitter and Facebook.
All right, cool. All right, Tim, where can people find you at?
Hey, man. You can follow me on Twitter at 4HTim. Catch me on Twitch. Maybe catch some Street Fighter tomorrow alongside with some Ori and the Blind Force.
A rare Tim stream.
Hey man, I have time now. I'm not working out of state. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, no, on Twitch at twitch.tv/4H_Tim. And probably catch me at my OnlyFans as well.
Definitely not.
Okay, I tried.
All right. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Boombox Hero. YouTube should be Magnegro. Twitch is twitch.tv/Magnegro with a 0 instead of an O. And if you guys have any suggestions or any feedback for the show, you can send it to halfcirclebackpodcast@gmail.com. And if you guys have any other suggestions, you can also reach either me or Tim on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so not hard to find. So other than that, I think we're good. So Darius, once again, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And yeah, with that, we will call it.